All right, Paul. We've talked about soccer, which everybody would know is the poor relation to baseball and American football and all the rest of it in America. National hunt racing or steeplechasing, as I believe it's known over there, it's a poor relation to flat racing. So you do like the underdogs.
Well, I'm happy to say that soccer is the most popular sport now in America, even though at the professional level it's not at the level of the NFL or Major League Baseball, but it is getting more and more popular. Um, from the racing standpoint, it's not flat racing. Obviously, it's not Del Mar or Saratoga or Belmont or what have you, but the jumps racing um, is still fascinating. And you know what? I wouldn't have a Scooby Doo about it if it wasn't for COVID. Because Atlantic Friends Racing, the idea was we'd have horses over here with Nigel.
Better say Nigel Hawke, whose place
Yeah,
we're at the minute.
yeah, Nigel Hawke. So, and we had sourced the horses over in Ireland. So I have a very good relationship with Jim Bolger and Pat O'Donovan, and then Eddie Buckley, obviously over in Ireland as well. And so, you know, great, we're going to come over. We're going to hopefully, I mean, Repetitio ran at Cheltenham at the festival. And, you know, so we got off to a pretty good start. And then when COVID hit, you know, obviously people aren't traveling and what have you. And so we had heard a little bit about the jumps racing, and Kerry Breon had ended up with a first, second, and third at a grade one at Saratoga. So every summer, Saratoga has 7 weeks of racing, and on a Wednesday, they have one hurdle race followed by 10 flat races. So she had finished first, second, and third. So it's every week. And so I reached out to her and, you know, just kind of picked the brain a little bit. And we took the chance of bringing a couple of horses over. And even though it is amateurish compared to this country, what it does is they have racing in the spring, so March, April, and May, at what I would consider hunt meets. So almost like point to points on steroids. So some of the meets we'll go to will have 35, 40,000 people there, hospitality off the charts, sponsorship off the charts, beautiful little race courses like you see at the point to points, but done properly. And obviously they're selling tickets, etc., etc. So we would do that. And then in the summer, you have Colonial Downs in Virginia and Saratoga. So Colonial Downs has 2 races a week on a Friday. Saratoga, 1 race a week on a Wednesday. So that gets you through the summer. Typically the horses, particularly at Saratoga, would be like at Cheltenham. You know, you've got to be a decent horse. You're not going there with a selling handicapper. And then in the fall, they repeat what they've done in the spring. So you have meets. You know, I'm going to have a horse this year at the Iroquois that will, I mean, Jimmy P, that we're planning to run him. And it's a $200,000 3-mile race. And there's not very many. I think it's the only race in America that I know that's 3 miles over hurdles. But there's some really big meets. You know, I think there's one meet at Middleburg or the Plains that has $500,000 in prize money for all of the races. So we've really enjoyed that. And obviously I still love England. And I appreciate home more now than I ever did when I lived here. So now to have that balance of having horses on both sides of the pond is fun for me. You know, and the other people involved, we came over for the Cheltenham Festival last year, and happy to say that we had a winner at Taunton.
I was there.
Yeah, so that was the day before the festival started. So, you know, it's funny, I had a winner at Sedgefield in November, and they asked me a question. I said, I know it's Sedgefield, but it's Cheltenham to me, because I just get so much fun out of seeing the horses do well. And I'm not a big time Charlie boy spending thousands and what have you. It's, you know, I've tried to be almost like very clever by, you know, relying on people that I trust and getting horses that haven't quite made the grade on the flat per se, and think that they've got a chance to go over jumps. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Now you mentioned Molly, your wife,
Yeah.
briefly earlier. Was she into racing before you? Because she's your owner with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, full disclosure, no, she wasn't. But she enjoys it. I mean, she's loved coming over here, going to Cheltenham, staying at Nigel's, and then going to the American racing. I mean, again, it sounds, I mean, I still remember going to points with my dad, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was beautiful. But if you went to the Plains in Virginia, or you went to Middleburg in Virginia, it looks like a Civil War site in terms of tents everywhere, beautiful trees. It's just spectacular. And then she gets a chance to wear fancy hats and everybody gets dressed up, which, you know, I know a ladies' day over here is very popular and stuff. So she's enjoyed it and she knows, I mean, I know I'm not allowed to say this or so I can't. They're not pets. I get that. But they're also not machines. And that's the biggest thing for me. Like yesterday, Laddie Cooper Mere, I took the train from Newcastle in the morning all the way down. My mate picked me up, went to Hereford, saw a race for the very first time, then came back in the horse box to Nigel's, and she finished fourth. And could not have been more thrilled because you don't really know what you've got. She showed a lot. She was as green as grass in the paddock. So I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I hope she, you know, at least doesn't embarrass herself or whatever. And she ran an absolute stormer. So did she get placed? Did she win? No, but she showed that she's a racehorse, and that's ultimately what I get out of it. And with a bit of luck, she'll go on to bigger and better things.
Can you tell us a bit about your you got horses all around the world basically. Can you tell us a bit about the setup at the moment?
Yeah, so the horses with Nigel and Adam. So I'm with Adam Nicol up in the north. So I did that because of my family. I live up in the Newcastle area. Adam lives beside sea houses. So if there's anybody listening to this that wants to see a beautiful part of the UK, if you go from Newcastle up the northeast coast before you get to Edinburgh, it's just spectacular. So he rides his horse at his yard, but he also has Bamborough Castle Beach right next to him. So I have 4 horses with him, one of which runs on the flat. The other 3 are flat horses that are jumping. And then over in Ireland, I have 3 horses with Eddie Buckley, who used to be with Nigel, and he helped start the relationship with Jim Bolger and Pat O'Donovan. So that's my setup over here. And then with Kerry, between Atlantic Friends, Molly and Paul, and other horses that we have a share in, we go racing in America. We do have a few flat horses in America that go on the flat. Donegal Danny is probably our next one out on the flat. But probably the biggest difference, if I'm just talking jumps. So for the most part, our horses have come from here and traveled over to America. So that typically means they go by horse box to Liège in Belgium, fly to New York City, couple of days in quarantine, and then off to Kerry's yard, and then hopefully get an opportunity to race. The prize money is far better in America, far better, if you win. The expenses are higher, so if you don't win, then you have to be careful. And when I say more expensive, it's just, you know, vet fees are more expensive, travel is more expensive, you know, because we're not just going half an hour down to Exeter. So I mean, from Maryland all the way to Nashville is a long hike. So we, you know, just trying to manage that and do it properly is the way we go. And then over here, obviously, I mean, I don't want to get in an argument or berate anybody about prize money in the UK. That would be the number one thing that I would love to do. If I ever did come back to England and somebody said, what would you like to do? I'd love to be a part of a group that would go after trying to improve the prize money in the UK and Ireland. Not at the top level, but at the lower level. I mean, like I just described to you at Seacoast United, it's wonderful to have good players, good teams, but, you know, there's a number of kids that want to play, want to get better, and you know, to have owners that aren't going to necessarily own a Derby winner, but own a horse, whether it's a share of a horse, and go somewhere and at least have it be a chance to make it pay is what I would like to see. Because I feel I'm in a fortunate position that, you know, I've got a few horses myself, obviously, but you do have to be careful with the expenses and what have you. And I think the UK racing scene, the whole works. I have no complaints. I enjoy it. Hereford yesterday was fantastic. I was at the Newcastle meet on Saturday for Ida Chase Day. Hospitality great, the course was great, the whole works. If they could just work on a way to try and improve prize money for the lower level to attract more people into it, because you look at somebody like me, I mean, I got involved with about 10 lads. We had a horse called Atlantic Grey, and if you told me back in the day that I was going to have this many horses, America, Ireland, here, I would have laughed in your face. But it's because I got the bug and I enjoyed it. And I think there's plenty more people out there that if they were given the opportunity, not that they're going to make money, but not to necessarily lose as much money, then that would be a thing that I would love to have gotten involved in.
Now you're introducing new owners with your Atlantic Friends syndicate.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, the highlight of Atlantic Friends is friends on both sides of the Atlantic, and it's amazing. Everybody in Atlantic Friends racing in America didn't have a Scooby-Doo about racing, flat or jumps. And I think 20 of us came over last year for the Cheltenham Festival. We went a couple of days to the festival. We went to Taunton. We came down here on Gold Cup Day and enjoyed Hawk Barn, a few beers and watching the racing on the telly. But they've all got the bug. And obviously being able to see your horses race in America as well has been a lot of fun. But I mean, it's a great sport. And I'm not knocking flat racing. You know, all power to you. I know there's a lot of money and colts and stallions and breeders and all of that kind of thing. But, you know, if you can get into a group and you can manage, be responsible, don't go crazy, it's a great hobby. And yeah, they've all thoroughly enjoyed it. And, you know, Chris LeBurge, who's a very good friend of mine, so he has friends, he has horses with Atlantic Friends. We have horses together, and he has got horses on his own. And he laughs because he wouldn't even known that a horse had 4 legs until he got introduced to me. So, yeah, they're all very, very, very much into it.
Right, last couple of questions. Being raised in the betting ring in the north of England and beyond, does betting play a big part in your sporting life?
No, I'm one of these people, if you ever went to a casino, I don't need to win. I just don't like to lose. So my friends laugh at me when I bet. They say, which one are you on at Cheltenham in a 20-runner handicap? And I'm like, oh, I'll back 3 of them. So I just do it for an interest in each race and what have you. But the betting in America, just to give you an idea, when you go to Saratoga and your horse is running in one of the hurdle races or a flat race, you can bet no problem, all on the tote. If you go to Virginia, even when you go to Middleburg or the Plains for the Gold Cup meet, you can bet there. Even though it's technically a point-to-point meet, it's similar to the tote as well. But if you go to South Carolina, which is the Carolina Cup, if you go to the Iroquois, which is Nashville, Tennessee, no betting. No betting at all. So all of the states in America are all independent. But the betting is starting to come. So the betting is not a big deal for me. If I go to the Iroquois and can't bet on a horse, I wish I could, just to have a little bit of an interest, but that would be a huge catalyst for jumps racing. So just to give you an idea, in South Carolina, there are no flat tracks at all. So South Carolina with horse race betting would be for those several jumps meets that they have. So if that could come in America, that would be a huge plus for jumps racing in the States. But I never I never have a big flutter on the horses. And you know, I had a 33-1 winner at Sedgefield in November. I had a tenner each way on her, and I was more surprised than anybody else that won.
I'm horrified.
You know?
Being a bookmaker's floor man, you should have had the fraction. Horrified. Right, finally, Paul. You've a busy. You know, you're obviously a competitive person. You've been sports all your life.
Yeah.
Do you set yourself a target to achieve, and if so, what is it? In horse racing.
In horse racing, I honestly can't tell you that I've got a goal of having more race horses. I think everybody would like to win the Gold Cup or win the Champion Hurdle. There's a movie back in America that was made a number of years ago called Moneyball, that was baseball, based on the Oakland baseball team, and I were very, very careful with the money and, you know, what have you. So that's what I've tried to do. I've not tried to go out and, you know, so last thing I would say to you, there's somebody that I really admire in horse racing in this country and in Ireland. I've never met him, but I love the way he operates, at least from the outside standpoint. I know nothing about him, JP McManus. So he'll win the Gold Cup or win the Champion Hurdle, but then you'll go to Newcastle or you'll go to Sedgefield or you'll go to Cartmel and you'll see his colours. And I like that kind of, what the hell's he doing here? Why would he have a horse at that level here or what have you? I love that. I love that. And, you know, I would say I match him in some ways at the level of Cartmel and Sedgefield. I've just never been able to reach the heights of a Cheltenham winner at the festival or anything like that. But you can dream, and you know, I'm enjoying the way I'm doing it right now. It's brought me a lot of pleasure. I think I brought a lot of pleasure to a lot of people. I had a birthday cake this morning at Nigel's. Every single one of the guys from the yard came in. We had a cup of tea, bit of birthday cake. Thank God they didn't sing happy birthday. And just surround yourself with good people, and I've surrounded myself with good people in horse racing, so I feel very fortunate.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Paul Willis.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.